Sweet souls, have no fear. The energy of the ancient vegan masters support you in your journey. Wow. Hey there, sweet souls. How are you? It's your forest fairy here. Nice to see you again. Welcome in and welcome back to the 100 Acre Woods, where I read cards out here. So let's read some cards for you. Shall we, sweet souls? Let's read some cards. I have these cards. They've been sitting on my shelf for a while. It's an older deck. I wouldn't call it vintage because I think it was released in 2013, I think. Anyways, it's called the Galactic Heritage Cards. It is an oracle deck. It's not a tarot deck. So we're using the Stardust deck as our tarot deck today. That's our main deck. And we are going to take a look at current situation, ideal, the blockage, solution, advice, and the outcome. And it is for all sweet souls watching. This is a very interesting deck, though. And I've been doing some reads with the Stardust in tandem, and I really love the messages. So, because these cards, the Galactic Heritage cards, are quite different, they're really different, I am going to lay out the cards, lay out the 6-card spread, clarify, and then read through the guidebook because it's wild. Like, it's literally out of this world, and just see how they then make sense of the tarot. You'll see. So, current situation, truth. So I'm hoping that these Galactic Heritage cards will give us some truth. Current situation, Ace of Swords, truth. The ideal, ooh, I'm already loving it. The ideal is the Star. Yes, indeed. The blockage is the 2 of Pentacles. I feel juggling 2 different worlds, or two different worlds. I'm just going to say worlds. Juggling between what would be the real world, Earth, and the illusions. Let's just put it that way. Okay. The solution, 6 of Swords. Okay. The advice, 7 of Swords. Okay. And the outcome, 4 of Wands. Okay. Since I mentioned the different worlds with the 2 of Pentacles, I feel like this is really making Earth our home. Like, this is our home. Interesting. And you'll see why I'm talking like this when we get into the Galactic Heritage cards. Bottom of the deck. And that which we might not see. And I say we because I'm just like you guys, right? I just read cards out here. The Hierophant. Those are the systems, the powers that be. I'm really feeling the powers that be that are putting on this, or that are part of the illusion of the world we live in. Okay. So, I'm going to shuffle these cards. Each card is different. It has different categories. And you'll see once they're out, and once we read through, the guidebook is it's going to be a big part of this read. Because these are not tarot cards. These are, it's an oracle deck. And it's literally out of this world. So, the Galactic Heritage deck. I might just start doing, I don't know if I'll do weeklies or monthlies. Whoa, on this. We'll see. We will see. So, these 2 popped out, clarifying the Ace of Swords. Way showing. SIRIUS. So this is the future. Again, there's past, present, and future categories in this, and we will go through it. So I think what I'm going to do is I am going to clarify each tarot card and read from the guidebook, and then go to the next tarot card and read it that way. All right, so also clarifying, the Ace of Swords is seduction and action, Orion, which is the present. So this is, so it almost makes me want to, and I'm just going to put the deck here and we'll pull from the top as I always do. So this is the present, this is the present situation. So let's take that, put that there. And the way showing, and it could be that the way showing is the future. So let's take a look. Let's read this Orion. Seduction and addiction. 58 first. So each time we engage in a habit or thought pattern, it grows stronger. Those are the psyops, sweet souls. Absolutely. We eventually crave the fulfillment of the habit like a drug. The thought of fulfilling that habit acts like a seduction for the ego. It must engage in this behavior pattern in order to feel normal. Wow, that's the truth. That's the Ace, clarifying the Ace of Swords. This is what we're talking about. Wow. This is true for our addiction to polarity, which is what we are always told in this world, judgment and categorization. Wow. We are compelled to judge everything we see or experience in order to make sense of reality and feel safe. But if our consciousness, and thus our planet, I really feel that's that Four of Wands, the home planet, is going to transform, we must learn to resist the seduction of this addiction, which will shift us to a transcended state. That's a fact, sweet souls. Oh my goodness. Okay, so let's continue on. This card refers to the time of Orion history, when they were trying to heal the polarity in their civilization and their consciousness. They were eventually successful, but it took a lot of self-exploration in order for them to stop reinforcing old habitual patterns of polarized thought. I feel that's what the Hierophant represents, that which we do not see. The polarized thought that our whole society has been told exists. Okay. As long as polarized thought exists, beings are never free to live as their true selves, fully integrated awareness. So what is polarized thought? It can be obvious, such as viewing reality through the lens of good and evil, okay, or it can be subtle, such as unconsciously seeing yourself as separate, bad, lacking, non-deserving, and so on. As long as we allow polarized thought to dominate our awareness, it is like feeding an addiction that only craves more and more polarized beliefs. We can see that in the world right now in order to survive. This addiction is seductive, as the card says, seduction and addiction. It lures you into the trap of self-sabotaging beliefs and behaviors and stops the process of awakening. If this card came up in your reading, look at the other cards to see if there is a theme repeating itself. It is also asking you to examine your innermost self and addictive thought patterns that keep you stuck in suffering and pain. Those thought patterns are no longer necessary, sweet souls, and when they change, suffering is lessened considerably. The power of change, freedom, and happiness is in your hands, and it all stems from being aware of how your thoughts affect your experience of reality. The ancient Orions had to learn this also. They succeeded and eventually awakened to a very high level of consciousness. This is possible for you as well. Oh my goodness, sweet souls. I have read this deck just privately, and I get tingles. I'm getting tingles right now every time, and this is the truth. Like, the Ace of Swords is the truth and clarity, and this card clearly not just illustrates but clearly expresses the world, the truth that we are living in right now. I have read and uploaded many reads. I have done even more reads privately, I do have to say. And in saying that, I don't think I'm eloquent. Like, this is why I want to read from this guidebook. It's so clear and it so eloquently speaks of what we as humans in this earthly realm are going through from an outside perspective, because these other, I don't know, species, I don't know, other, let's just say species, because I do not have another word to describe these other beings, let's just say. And they have gone through it as the Orion species or beings. I'm just going to say beings rather than species, because that's very earthly. Have gone through. Okay, so also clarifying, the Ace of Swords is SIRIUS. Way showing. So is this a card that will show us the way? Let's see. I don't know. Let's find out. In the ancient SIRIUS, way showing, which is our future. In the ancient past, Syrians were conflicted about being leaders or staying hidden. They saw this as an either or situation. Now that they have evolved, they realize that being a leader is not an aggressive or controlling role. True leaders lead from the heart, without ego desire, and from a clear sense of inner direction that is aligned with universal consciousness. In the ancient past, you were also conflicted about this issue, but now is the time to release this karmic pattern and no longer have fear about being a leader or a way shower. You don't have to do anything to lead. Simply being is enough. So this is an era of enlightenment, serious consciousness. To successfully evolve, Syrians had to heal some of their deepest fears. One of these fears was about leadership and its responsibilities. They resisted this role, but soon realized that it was part of their spiritual path. They eventually accepted it with gratitude for being allowed to be of service. If you pulled this card, it most likely means that you have leadership qualities. It may be asked of you to use those qualities now. Recognize that being a leader or teacher can be subtle. It may be as a leader or teacher in your family or community. Do not fear this ability within you, but at the same time, do not force it to manifest. The best leaders are those who don't necessarily want to lead, but simply lead by example. Another possible meaning is that you might be attached to the idea of becoming a leader, and this desire is coming from ego rather than your true self. In order to know which of any, if any, of these options is the correct interpretation, go honestly within yourself to find the answer. The card may also be referencing a lifetime in which you were a leader. Use your intuition and look at other cards and your life circumstances for further clarity. The simplified message, even being every being is a leader and teacher for others. And as well, and as we all embrace this role, we also have to embrace the responsibilities that come with that role, which are integrity, impeccability, responsibility, and authenticity. Wow, that's the future, sweet souls. After we get out of the seduction of the duality of this world and see this world for the truth of this world for what it really is. Okay, so then the ideal is the star, clarified by seeking karmic balance, PLEIADES, which is in the present. So I'm going to keep the present underneath the present, and I was going to say, and see if we have another future card, and we do. We have more SIRIUS, which is calling our parts home. From the stars, it seems. This is hope, not just hope, but hope for humanity. Sweet souls, this is the ideal. So let's take a look at seeking karmic balance. This is what we're going through presently. Pleiades. As a 4th to 5th density species in this era, Pleiadians are now experiencing a higher spiritual awakening. They recognize their past imbalances and have gained a sincere intention to balance karma by recognizing that all things happen for a reason and learning from their choices. This card encourages you to do the same. A Pleiadian guide is most likely assisting you with this. Take an honest look at your repeating challenges and know that karma is at work. Wow. These obstacles are gifts to help you move to the next level of your growth. Embrace them and open to the lesson they are teaching you. Okay. Wow. Okay. When the Pleiadians were a young species, they made many choices that they regretted. This created karma for many of them and for the species as a whole. But they evolved. They learned to balance this karma by gaining wisdom about their past actions. This card refers to the era in which the Pleiadians matured as a species. Okay, so they do use the word species. I was correct. We'll use that word. They learned the lessons of their past and became committed to helping other young species avoid making the same mistakes they did in their past. This is one of the many reasons why they interact with humans in the present. If this card comes up in your reading, perhaps you have had a Pleiadian lifetime in the ancient past when they were a young species and now you are balancing that karma. Ooh, never considered that. Or perhaps you have a connection with a Pleiadian being from this mature present area who is working with you now by giving you wisdom and guidance. Look to the other cards for clues. It may also be possible that you are balancing karma in general, and your soul desires to stop repeating old patterns from the past. This is a clear message to look at your life and your actions clearly. With that Ace of Swords, yes, clearly, and do whatever you can to stop repeating old destructive patterns. Always remember that wisdom neutralizes karma. That's very interesting. And on a personal note, my grandmother used to say that healed hurt turns into wisdom. And always remember, it says here, always remember that wisdom neutralizes karma. For in gaining the wisdom of the lessons from the past, future actions are made from a conscious place. And this is the ultimate way, wow, to balance karma. Okay. So now I want to go to the SIRIUS, the future. This is SIRIUS. I love this deck, and I wasn't sure if I was just going to read from the guidebook, but these messages, I can't, not yet. I will use this deck in the future, moving forward on a consistent basis, so I will get to know these cards. Every card is very individual. So I thought for my first, maybe I'll always read from the guidebook. I don't know moving forward, but for this read, I really just wanted these messages to clarify what I do know, which is obviously the tarot, and how these messages can help you guys. Okay, so calling our parts home, and it brings me to this home card of the Four of Wands, which is the outcome. So when we connect with the future SIRIUS energy, it acts as a force that nudges us towards the integration of all of our parts. The shadow and the light. If you have had lifetimes of deep polarity and struggle, this SIRIUS energy can provide a profound healing if you allow yourself to embrace all parts of you, even those you don't want to see. That's shadow work right there. Take a quiet moment to visualize the star SIRIUS. It's clarifying the star. Oh my goodness, I got tingles. I get it every time I use this deck. Wow. With each inhale, breathe in this energy. With each exhale, release old separate parts of you into the light of Sirius. In doing so, you call all parts of you home. Okay. This card accesses energy from the Sirian era after they became an awakened species and transcended to a non-physical fifth density state. The Sirians from this era are a great model for humans, showing how a physical species can transcend the challenges of being immature, becoming awakened, and transcend physical existence and then serve as guides for other beings. Okay, the Sirians from this era are devoted to serving humans and other species as they too experience planetary awakening. In order for this awakening to happen, individuals and the planetary consciousness as a whole must begin a process of integrating the aspects that were never allowed to be embraced, the shadow as well as the light. In a way, this card is a very healing card. If it shows up in your reading, there may be many messages. It could be that a Sirian being is working directly with you to assist your growth. This being could strongly have a potential of being a future self for you. The strongest message, however, is that it is time for you to begin to embrace the parts of you that you always wish to keep separate. The parts of you that you cannot love. Oh, all of these parts must be embraced. When they are, your full being will be home. This is a first step on the path of awakening. Wow. Okay. So the block is the Two of Pentacles. It feels like juggling two worlds, juggling two ideas or thoughts or beliefs. After this calling our parts home, this could be juggling the dark and the light, the shadow and the light. Okay, that's the block, not accepting your shadow self. Okay, let's see. Clarifying, the Two of Pentacles is balanced relationships. Again, the Pleiades. Balanced relationships. We're talking about balance with the Two of Pentacles. I'm going to put the Pleiades underneath the Pleiades and just see what comes up. Next. And leaving home. This is calling out our parts of home, and this is leaving home. You see that? Parallel. I'm going to put this here and just see if this has to do with calling our parts home. I feel like I got to keep these Pleiades cards together. But this is parallel versus future, and I've been keeping the future. Let's do this. I can always change it. That's not a big deal. Okay. Future, future, future. As far as the categories of these cards. And so the Pleiades of the present is bringing us into the future. Okay. So, the ESSASSANI. I hope I'm pronouncing that. The ESSASSANI, a cross between humans and the ZETAs, eventually had to integrate all of their lessons, evolve as a species, and leave home. Walk into their own future and find their own path. Humanity is facing this challenge now as we struggle to find ourselves. You too are at this crucial nexus point of evolution. This is a beautiful yet bittersweet place to be. You must do your spiritual homework, make conscious and courageous choices, and find your own path. Do not fear who you truly are. This represents the potential for a new birth and the importance of consciously creating your future. Start now. The ESSASSANI species is a hybrid of human and ZETA and is highly evolved, but they did not have role models in the same way we do. They were true pioneers. Their evolutionary path was very lonely in some ways, and they had to consistently walk into the unknown. If you pulled this card, its message can vary. Most likely, the card is telling you that you may have to leave home, metaphorically, like a teenager does when he or she becomes an adult. You may have to make some choices to walk a path that is in solidarity, but authentic for you, rather than what society, religion, or family pressures you to choose. However, there is a warning. If you choose to walk a unique path that is different from those around you, make sure it is done because this path is an authentic expression of you rather than a rebellion against what you don't like. Okay. This is a very important distinction. Rebelliousness always attaches you to unhealed issues. Okay, perhaps this card is telling you that it is time to begin to embrace your own unique, authentic self. This unique, authentic self is not an expression of ego. It is simply an expression of the natural flow of the universe working through the physical expression of you on this earth plane. No matter which meaning is appropriate for you, listen closely for the inner whisperings about the next steps. In the end, we all must have the courage to leave home in order to recognize our true home. Okay. And then we go to balanced relationships, the Pleiades in the future. The challenges in human relationships happen from expectation. We expect our partners to become who we want them to be rather than allowing them to be who they are naturally. This card suggests that it is time to take an honest look at the relationships in your life and your expectations. Can you be 100% present as a friend, family member, or partner without expectation? Or, if expectation is placed on you, can you ignore that pressure and be your natural self anyway? This card points to a karmic pattern ready to be released, and this future Pleiadian energy can assist you. This card is connected to an evolved time stream of the Pleiadian civilization in which interpersonal relationships are fully balanced. On Earth, humans use relationships as their classroom in which they learn their toughest of lessons. Relationships are also used in a way to balance karma. But this means that relationships on Earth often contain a lot of pain and suffering. This is mostly because humans don't feel complete, which is what the leaving home talks about. Okay. They have expectations that their spouse, family members, or friend will fulfill a need that they are not fulfilling for themselves. In the new paradigm, that type of relationship cannot sustain itself because the human is acting from a place of need or lack rather than the wholeness or joy. Evaluate the relationships in your life. Are they fully balanced in joy? Or are they based on need, loneliness, or low self-worth? Or any other issue that needs to be addressed within yourself before you can truly have a healthy relationship? It is time for serious self-evaluation. Look at the other cards for any other clues about this. Conversely, if it is also possible that you have been doing deep inner work regarding relationships and what you need to see within yourself, and this card is acknowledging a positive shift in the relationships in your life. This card requires you to be very honest in your self-evaluation. If you see things that need to change, don't feel badly about it, but be grateful for the self-awareness that will help you make these changes. And that reminds me again of what my wise grandmother used to say, with awareness comes change. Wow. She also used to say, with understanding comes compassion. But with awareness comes change. That's what this is about. I feel I had it right the first time. Because now I'm seeing balanced relationships and seeking karmic balance, the Pleiadian message, and leaving home. Having to move forward, leave home, stop sort of juggling who you are. Take a look at that shadow work. Call in the parts, all parts, and accept all parts of you to be able to balance it out. Okay, that's what I see. I kind of switched it, and then when I read it, I feel like it's got to be this way. So, the solution is the Six of Swords, and there is in the tarot that moving forward, those making plans, those leaving those, as they say in the tarot, the emotional rocky waters into calm waters, into acceptance, into balance. Okay, clarifying, the Six of Swords is freedom. Vega. Yes, indeed. And birth and expansion. Lyra. This looks like the past, so I'm going to put it in the past position when I clarify. And we got past and future. Okay, so let's read the birth and expansion first. As the Lyran civilization grew, it unleashed a tremendous amount of creative energy. There was so much excitement to build this new civilization and expand into the galaxy. It was a time of optimism, enthusiasm, and creative experimentation. This card reminds you of that ancient time that you were a part of, and it encourages you to once again find the creative spark within you. Don't be afraid of your creativity, sweet souls. Don't be afraid of it. There were times when you were punished for it. But that reality is past. It's time to release the karmic patterns of fearing your creativity and trust the universe to support it. Okay. Because this refers to the time period of the Lyra's past pioneering spirit and their commitment to enthusiasm to build the physical reality that they desired, you might think this is a card that represents a focus on masculine energy. That isn't necessarily true. It refers even more deeply to the creative process of the Lyrans, which, when used in a healthy way, was a very balanced expression. Creativity can be used for service or for selfishness. Yes, indeed. In their journey to mature as a species, the Lyrans used this creativity in both ways, and they learned the lessons of selfishness when they made unconscious self-serving choices. Just like children or teenagers learn about the results of their choices, so did the Lyrans. If you have this card in your reading, look at the surrounding cards. If there's a theme of several cards that warn of ego traps, yes indeed. Yeah, pay attention to your hidden desires for your creative process. If the card has a theme of nurturing your creative process or spiritual development, then you are encouraged to trust your creative process and take risks with it, even if you don't know where it will lead. So we do have cards that talk about the ego, which was the Orion, the first one, the seduction and the addiction of duality. Look at the surrounding cards. If there is a theme of several cards that warn of ego traps, pay attention to your hidden desires for your creative process. Those are the reasons or the intentions behind what it is that you're creating. Okay. And move out of that and into freedom. The ancient Vegas had many challenges in their personal development, including feelings of self-limitation, self-judgment, over-controlled emotions, and martyrhood, to name a few. This kept them feeling like slaves to their mental and emotional patterns for millennia. Well, doesn't that sound like humanity? But as they awakened, they realized that those patterns were just illusions, yes indeed, that stopped them from seeing their inner light. Once they realized this, they experienced a tremendous sense of spiritual liberation and freedom. This is the same challenge humans have. Can you stop validating mental emotional patterns and simply be your light? This card refers to an era of vegan history in which the vegans had surmounted all of their spiritual challenges and became an awakened species. All civilizations have this opportunity, but often a planetary civilization has to go through several cycles of darkness and ignorance before it can become awakened. Earth is in a time of darkness now, but it is always darkest before dawn. That's what we see in the tarot and the Ten of Swords. Yeah. Humanity has tremendous potential to become an awakened species as well, but the process is never easy. It requires individuals and the society as a whole to see themselves clearly and take the steps needed to transform ignorance into enlightenment. This card refers to the immense freedom and liberation that comes from spiritual insight and no longer becoming a slave to emotions, painful memories of the past, or fears about the future. It refers to a state of consciousness that is rooted in the now, where all of your energy that once was spent in worry, fear, judgment, and self-sabotage is reclaimed. If this card shows up in your reading, then it usually means that you are on the precipice of a major change, an opportunity to free yourself from old destructive patterns that have kept you stuck. In order to express this energy in the physical reality, however, you will need to take all the steps needed in your life to claim your freedom. Know that these steps may be painful, but the liberation that comes is like a rebirth. As each person takes these steps to transform his or her life, the entire planet's consciousness can evolve as well. Have no fear. Sweet souls, have no fear. The energy of the ancient vegan masters support you in your journey. Wow. Okay, the advice is the Seven of Swords. We'll see what comes out, whether or not this Seven of Swords is representing a new strategy. I kind of feel it's a new strategy with this VEGA card, or if it's about falling back into seduction and addiction and lying to ourselves. Okay. But that wouldn't be a solution to lie to ourselves, right, sweet soul? So I really feel that it's about taking a look at how we can let go of expectations, of seduction and addictions, to duality, how we can step into leadership with the way showing, to really do our shadow work with calling our parts home. I feel this is a new strategy. So, clarifying the Seven of Swords as the advice is solar consciousness. And pioneering spirit. Yes, indeed. Again, Lyra, where did we see that? Right here. I'm gonna put it in right underneath. I want to keep the, like I did with the Pleiadians, I want to keep the species sort of together. Okay. So, pioneering spirit. Let's take a look. The early beginnings of the Lyran civilization were filled with excitement about exploring the universe. They expanded their colonies rapidly, and the civilization grew quickly. These were the first forefathers of human heritage. having a connection to this early Lyran time, you also have a connection to this pioneering spirit. This spirit compels you to explore both the physical and metaphysical worlds. While this is a healthy pursuit, the lessons of the Lyrans have shown that this desire for exploration must also be balanced with daily life. It asks that your explorations be a way to embrace physical life. Ooh, not escape it. This text for this card pretty much says it all. It refers to the beginnings of the first star family directly related to our development on Earth, the Lyrans. It particularly refers to the first era of their development when they were a young species and had many lessons to learn. The Lyrans are our oldest forefathers. In this past era, they were very externally forced in reality and not very interested in spiritual development. In some ways, they were young and immature, and as most young species are. But qualities of young civilizations can be negative or positive depending on how these qualities were expressed. A pioneering spirit can be a wonderful quality when used with responsibility and integrity. It can also be a negative quality when used immaturely with ignorance and without integrity. Thus, it becomes important to look at the rest of the cards, read it to see how to interpret it, and follow your intuition. Usually this card comes up for people who have lived lives in Lyra during this era and are here to apply those lessons. Perhaps you are being asked to take risks and become a spiritual pioneer. Perhaps that's that leader card. Yeah, becoming a leader. Okay. Perhaps you are being asked to take risks and become a spiritual pioneer in your life a little bit more. Or perhaps the pioneering aspect of your nature needs to be balanced with responsibilities in your life on Earth as a human. Open yourself to further guidance from the message of this card and see where the insight takes you. That's the balance of this Two of Pentacles, which is blocking. That's the balance of calling our parts home, which is the light and the shadow. There's a lot, and so this pioneering spirit is asking you to pioneer these new strategies, I think, here on Earth. And then we go to solar consciousness. Our solar system archetypally represents all the aspects of human consciousness. This is visible through astrology. The sun represents our highest potential of consciousness, the higher self. This is the higher self card. You have pulled this card because either you already have a strong connection to your higher self, or it's time now to develop that relationship. This is also a card of integration. Solar consciousness compels us to integrate our parts. This reading is a lot about integration. Solar consciousness compels us to integrate our parts and become whole again. That's what the calling our parts home is. And it's clarifying the star. Okay. This process happens naturally if we connect with and become the higher self. The process has begun. This is a highly archetypal, powerful card, one of the most powerful in the deck in terms of personal evolution, sweet souls. It can represent the sun of our solar system, soul, or the archetypal energy of any sun or star. And we have the star card. Wow. It represents the bright light of awareness or the higher self. This is the energy that guides us, a consciousness beyond human personality that is the awareness of all of creation itself. If it came up in your reading, then it could mean several things depending on your situation. It could be acknowledging the connection with your higher self that you are already utilizing, or even a spirit guide who brings you messages from this higher aspect of you. Or if you don't feel particularly connected to your higher self, it could be a message that you are now, that you now need to start making this connection. The energy is strongly present, so why not learn to use it? Your higher self is most likely sending a message to you, and is likely you knowing what that message is, even if you don't want to fully acknowledge it, which might mean that you are kind of sneaking away from your higher self. You're with the Seven of Swords, you want to get out of Dodge. This might be very powerful for some of you, that it could be frightening you. I see that with it clarifying the Seven of Swords. The energy of any star in its raw form is a direct representation of the intelligence of creation itself, pure consciousness. It hasn't fragmented or individuated. It exists in a fully integrated state. This energy is present for you and is, in a sense, waiting for you to acknowledge it and accept its presence in your life. Even those people who feel fully connected to their higher selves can always go deeper. Wow. Okay. So then that brings us to the Four of Wands. Feeling at home, calling our parts in, connecting to our higher self, which is really, as they keep referring to, the star, the solar energy. That's our spark. We are a spark of God. So the home card is really finding ourselves, our true, authentic, higher self, which is the spark of God. Okay, so clarifying, the Four of Wands is stubbornness. Oh, aren't we all, sweet souls, stubborn? Oh, let's read that one. And it's of the past. And renewed hope. Star card in the tarot. ZETA. Oh, Lord, how do I... it's where the emphasis is on what syllable. So let's say this. RERICULLI. Let's say that. ZETA or ZETA? RERICULLI. Okay. And that's the present. Renewed hope. Probably right underneath that higher self card, solar consciousness, is renewed hope for freedom. I see it. Wow. Okay. So let's get to, and it's right beside this block here, right? All right. Stubbornness. Sweet souls. Stubbornness. This message relates to having a fixed idea of how things should be and trying to force reality to fit that picture. Oh my goodness, yes. This was a strong trait in the ancient Palladian culture, which created many problems for their civilization. Some of us still carry this habitual pattern. Take a look at the situations you want to change. Be honest. Ooh, goes back up to that Seven of Swords, right? Be honest. And see if you are trying to force a reality that doesn't exist in the now. Okay, it doesn't exist in the now. Be truthful. Ace of Swords. In order to make a change, we must first fully accept and relax with the situation as it is. Only then will things change in a natural way. This card also represents one of the most powerful lessons of the Palladians from this era. When the species was young, they were very idealistic, much like teenagers of today. They had a view of how reality should be, and they sought to force this vision on others. This is often a challenge of new species when they are young. Earth humans have this trait as well. During the dark times of Orion, the Orion people were in a lot of pain. The young Palladian species felt it was their duty to boldly come in to the Orion system and force the empire to free its people. These Palladians were blind to the fact that they were creating karma for themselves and meddling in a situation that was not theirs to fix. In response, the Orions destroyed a planet in the Pleiadian system that was known to be one of its most beautiful. The Pleiadians were stunned and traumatized, but it was the experience they needed to grow up as a species and drop their arrogance. They left that planet a lifeless shell floating in space. It always reminded them of their own ignorance. If this card comes up in your reading, look at the surrounding cards. It may be about a connection that you have with this time in Pleiadian history, or it may simply be a warning about becoming attached to your beliefs about how things should be in reality, and a stubborn drive to change them according to what you feel. It's interesting that we have a Pleiadian past card about being stubborn and forcing one's belief systems on others, a Pleiadian present, which is seeking that karmic balance. And of course, as the card describes, they took on more karma by pushing their agenda onto the Orion species, and then the future, which is balancing relationships. Okay, I see it. Now, renewed hope. Last card, ZETA. RERICULLI, I'm going to say. When a crisis passes and we are no longer deep in fear, there is a sense of relief. It feels like a new dawn has arrived and the future is filled with hope. This is where the Zetas are emotionally in this era. Their species crisis has passed and they are feeling a new dawn rising. The message for you is to see each moment as a change for a new dawn. Nothing in the physical universe is consistent except change. With each change comes a potential for beauty, joy, and growth. Don't let these moments of your life pass without noticing them as doorways to awakening. Begin now. This card refers to an era of the Zeta civilization where their species had passed and they were on the road to recovery. With the threat of their extinction over, they reconnected with their joy and began to feel hope about the future. They realized that they could not go back to the ways of their past and had to reshape their civilization and themselves. If you pulled this card, its meaning depends on the surrounding cards and your life circumstances. It could be that you have recently passed through a dark time of your life and you are feeling the new dawn. If so, it is important to learn the lessons from the past and not repeat them before you move into your future. It may also mean that you haven't yet passed fully through a challenging time, but you can look ahead to when the dawn will come. For those of you who have strong Zeta connections, this card may also mean that you have connections with the Zeta era. Perhaps you have had a lifetime then, or you are in contact with a being from this era. In any case, let yourself feel the energy of a new dawn that is on the horizon. Always remember that personal work never finishes. The Zetas learned this and continued their self-healing work on a personal and species level. This deep inner work led to their species awakening. This inner work can lead to your awakening as well. And the bottom of the deck, and clarifying the Hierophant, is linear thinking, another Zeta card of the past. Okay. And this, I'm now seeing the Hierophant rather than the powers that be, rather than the old world structures of Earth and of humans. I'm really seeing this, and we'll read the card, your spiritual awakening. When beings stop themselves from feeling emotions, especially fear, and resort to only logic to navigate through reality, reality becomes very limited. My apologies, that don't conform to the formula of linear thinking are rejected without exploration. This card recommends that you look at your patterns of limited thinking and see how they restrict the experiences you have in life. Let yourself begin to think outside the box and explore new ideas that previously seemed impossible. The Zetas had to do this in order to heal their species, and most likely, so will humans. Why not start now? These cards refer to a specific aspect of the Zeta struggle of this era, because the Zetas rejected emotions and intuition, which are more holographic in nature. The only process they had left in which to organize reality was of logic and thought, which are very linear in nature. Remember, the Zeta species originally came from the VEGA colonies. So this book really, it's like a historical of each species, of their past, present, future, but we won't get into that today. And with I kind of feel like I'm going to be doing these reads weekly. We will come across these cards in the future. So when a person or a society resorts primarily to linear thinking, to negative reality, it creates a very rigid box of perception that creates limitation. This is why the Zetas could not see a way out of the box of the situation they created that nearly destroyed their species. Humans have the same challenge on Earth now, and it is vital that we somehow reconnect with our intuition and emotions in order to navigate away from the same fate that befell the Zetas. If this card came up in your reading, it is challenging you to examine how your own linear thinking keeps you stuck. How can you use your mind and your intuition and heart to navigate your reality? How can you learn to validate both? That's what it goes back to, calling our parts of home, of the Two of Pentacles, of karmic balance, of balancing relationships. That's what this is. How can you learn to validate both? Doing so will be a powerful next step in your personal evolution. Wow, sweet souls, this has run long, so I'm just going to leave it at that, and I'm going to get angel numbers. So I see 674, and we'll see if the angel numbers also sort of bring this together. I'm feeling tingles. I do have to say, I love these cards, and I've been a little hesitant bringing them out. And today's the day that I'm bringing it out. I'm going to edit this, and I'm going to put it up today. So 674, your angels want to be a part of your bigger picture, but they need your permission. Call them in and allow them to support the expansion of your purpose and soul. Sweet souls, 247, 247. Cosmic gateway. Your thoughts are magnetic and powerful. Trust the changes that are occurring. They are miracles. Last one. Let's do 742. 742. Last one, sweet souls. 742. Your angels are encouraging you to trust that higher learning is being revealed at this time. I feel with these cards, it totally is. It's important for you to see that your previous experiences have been great teachers. More inner study is now required to progress. I feel that with these reads, that with me learning the cards, it may take a long time, but there'll be a day where I know what every single card is, what it means. Only refer to the guidebook when I need to, but for now, just so you know, sweet souls, I will be reading each card from the guidebook in its entirety, because this is something very different for me, something new, something that when I got this deck, I was very curious about, and I have used it only personally, and this is the first time that I am putting it out there, and I really feel that it is going to be a really good read for the collective to see and experience along with me. Okay, so that's what I see for you, sweet souls. And I'm sure I'll see you again. Take care from your forest fairy. Bye for now.